Hey everybody, welcome to CustServe Nation. I'm Tony Johnson, your weekly host for all things customer service, all things amazing experiences, and all things you can do to lead, stand, and deliver for your organizations. We're going to be here every week. We're going to be talking about the things that are going to help you deliver more amazing customer service experiences and also drive loyalty that, by the way, will drive profitability, because we're not charities here, folks. We're for-profit organizations, so we have to make sure that we're standing and delivering so that the customers want to spend their hard-earned money with us. So we're going to talk about that. Every week we're going to talk about certain lessons. We're going to be bringing you live questions. We're going to be giving you feedback. We're going to be answering things live on Twitter. Right now we're actually live on Periscope here today. So it's going to be a fantastic opportunity to get live interactions both from Periscope through Twitter and the questions that you submit through the website. Everything that we talk about today will be fleshed out in a little more detail in my book, Recipe for Service. Feel free to order that on Amazon, order that on Barnes & Noble. You can even order that on booksamillion.com. You can get it from the website. So take your opportunities to get this book in to really talk about how to deliver more amazing customer service experiences in even more detail than we're going to talk about today. So I think that everything customer service often starts with just amazing stories. So the other day I was out looking for a cable for my television. I was hooking up a big monitor and whatnot to my computer stuff. And you know, every now and again I get a little turned around between HDMI and VGA and RGB and all that stuff. I get there in the end, but usually it takes me a little bit longer than the average bear to get there. But don't get me wrong, we get it all hooked up and everything works in the end. So I'm over buying groceries and I decided to stop into my local Mega Mart there and wander back to the electronics section since I'm already there and ask a few questions and try to figure out what I need. So I look around for a minute and I can't figure it out. So I start to kind of gander about for an hourly associate or someone working in that department who might be able to help me. And I look and I look and I look some more and I can't really find anybody. But after a few minutes, I look around and they're off like a bastion in an oasis in the desert. I see a customer service associate who I think might be able to help me. So I wander up, start asking a few questions. Now, it doesn't take me very long to figure out that this person probably isn't going to be able to help me. Really trying. She's really trying to own it for me. But, you know, it's just kind of not there. So she picks up the walkie-talkie and calls her manager, thinking that her manager might be able to support her. I thought that was pretty good thinking. Ask for help when you need it. So the manager gets on the line, not realizing that she's like on open air. She thinks she might be in a little earwig or something. And after the person explains the problem and what I'm looking for, she proceeds to tell her that she's a very important manager person doing, you know, really important manager stuff. And she can't come out, and I either need to wait or come back. So I'm listening to all this, realizing that that manager's going to be very embarrassed after she's all done and after she realizes she was in open air, and that I'm already kind of halfway out the door when the associate kind of looks at me with, you know, gosh, I'm sorry, my manager's such a jerk. Now, I went right across the street to an electronic superstore. You may know them as Best Buy, and they did a great job of helping me figure out what I need, get it ordered, get it in my cart, and get out in less than 10 minutes. Really customer service rock star kind of stuff, and I was very appreciative of that. So just know that your folks need to be equipped to deal with day-to-day customer questions if they're going to work in a particular department or area. They have to know what they're talking about. They have to be well-trained. They have to understand their business. And if they reach out to you as a leader and want help, you have to be ready to drop and run and go for your customer. Now, you may not always be able to get there in 10 seconds, but you've got to get there quickly, because no matter what spreadsheet, email, whatever you might be working on, nothing is as important as that customer who's out there waiting for you. And if we get that kind of service mentality, putting the guest at the center of what we do every day, amazing things are going to happen. And that's where really you can make that big difference. So train your people and be available when they need you, and nothing's more important than the customer. So just be aware that needs to be a part of your onboarding, part of your training, part of your leadership development. If you lead leaders, make sure that they're ready to go out and do the same thing. Lead by example, and just understand that that's going to deliver a better customer service experience at the end of the day than what I had at my local Mega Mart there. We were lucky enough to really have a couple of great questions submitted through the website and through Twitter this week. So live from Twitter we got, how do we get our teams to really want to work together and pull that rope in the same direction, be a part of the team, that kind of stuff? I think that's a great question. I'm going to go to NASA for the answer on that. In the 60s, you probably know the story, President Kennedy set the edict that he wanted to have us on the moon by the end of the decade and win the space race. We were going to be on the moon. It was the priority, and we were going to throw the weight of the nation behind it to get there by the end of the 60s. And you know what? We did it, and it was a big deal. It was big, heady, going to space kind of stuff, and it was fantastic. And it was all the rage all across the country, all across television. That's all you could see. All 3 channels, by the way, folks. But at the end of the day, everybody wanted to hear about space, space, space. And so they were interviewing anybody who would stand still long enough. So they're in mission control one day, and they see a custodian tootling down the hallway with their little push cart, and they go up and they say, "Ma'am, can we speak to you for a minute?" And she says, "Sure." So they get her all framed up on camera, put the microphone in her face, and they ask, "What do you do for NASA?" Now that's a rubber meets the road moment. I'm not sure what my folks might say if they were asked that question, but this custodian knew how to stand and deliver. She looked right back at the camera. Now mind you, she emptied ashtrays, she swept the floor, she cleaned the windows. She could have said any one of those things, but she looked right at the camera without missing a beat, and she says, "I work for NASA and I helped put a man on the moon." Wow. That's big, deep blue, amazing stuff. You just can't beat that. And really the moral of the story there is, how do you find your mission? You know, if you're in higher education, how do you get everyone understanding that their goal is to provide an education, whether they work in the dining services or the bookstore, or they're a part of the groundskeeping crew or maintenance? How do you get that message across? Well, you talk about it every day. You talk about it during onboarding, during hiring, during pre-shift huddles. You talk about it when you're having employee meetings. You post it on the walls. You write it on their forehead. You do whatever you have to. But at the end of the day, the mission is that greater piece of the organization. If you work in healthcare, for example, whether you're a nurse, a doctor, again, if you work in the dining or you're part of maintenance or you're an electrician, your job is to help people get better, to be well, to live a great life. That's the bigger mission. Now talk about that, and it'll be more easily accessible for your folks to understand that they're a part of something bigger than themselves. They'll want to pull that rope in the same direction. They'll want to help their guests, and they'll want to stand and deliver at the moment of truth because they know that there's something bigger than their little corner of the store, whether it's serving a cheeseburger or cleaning up the floors or cleaning windows or fixing electrical problems. It doesn't matter. There's something bigger than themselves, and that is where you can absolutely drive like organizational success like you're looking for. Question 2 is, I'm so busy, are the details really so important because I got a lot of stuff going on and I can't pay attention to them? Yes, yes, the details are that important. You've got to be mindful of those details because they're going to be the linchpin of your entire organization. Customers are judging you from the very second that they walk in the door, and they want to judge you on things that are amazing. They don't want to see potholes in the parking lot. They don't want to see smudged windows. You know, think about it. If you walk into a restaurant and you pull in and you notice that the trees aren't very well trimmed and the parking lot's dirty and the lines are all starting to fade off, and well, you park anyway and you walk in, and as you walk in you realize the windows are kind of dirty and there's dead leaves in the vestibule and the floor doesn't look very clean. All right, fine. So you walk in, you see maybe the trash isn't organized or orderly, or maybe it's overflowing, and when you sit down your server hands you a menu that's more scratch and sniff at this point because it's so greasy and disgusting. You're probably left at some point during that interaction. I know I would have. And the moral of the story there is that when people are judging you on things they can see, if you're doing a great job, they'll give you credit for stuff they can't necessarily see. But if you're a restaurant and your menus are disgusting, your tables are dirty, and your servers are all, kind of disheveled, maybe their uniforms are dirty, they start wondering what's going on back there in the kitchen, maybe where they can't see. They wonder if there's a health problem they need to be worried about, or if they're going to get sick or something like that, or if it's not very clean back there. They're going to wonder about all that stuff because you've given them cause to do so. So keep your organization, your business, your locations very clean. Don't let the plants die. Dust your locations. Don't let those heating and cooling vents get all dusty and whatnot. It just spells out to your customers that maybe you're not very interested in keeping things clean and orderly, and that never does well for them or for you because they're going to leave you in droves if you can't be bothered to take care of the little stuff. One of my favorite examples comes from Walt Disney World. Now, anybody who's known me for more than 5 minutes knows that I have a deep love for the mouse. And when I go down there, one of the places I always go is the Hall of Presidents in the Magic Kingdom. And it's this line of animatronic presidents from Washington all the way to the current president. And it basically talks about each one of them a little bit. Some of them give little speeches. It all started with the animatronic Abraham Lincoln in Disneyland years ago. But overall, it's just a neat experience, very patriotic, and a neat way to see all the presidents kind of in one place and get a feel for that sense of history. Now, the thing I love about it most is it's so detail-oriented. Abraham Lincoln's hat is stitched from period-type felt, hand-stitched. It's not machine-done, and you can see that there might be little minor imperfections in it, and the doublets that some of the presidents from the 20s and 30s might be wearing, are hand-stitched from those period materials as well, and it all smacks of just amazing authenticity. And if it all looked too perfect, too well done, too machine-done, you might start thinking that it doesn't look authentic, for example, Abraham Lincoln, who lived in 1860. So remember that those kind of details really make a huge, amazing difference. And some details are only noticed when they're wrong as opposed to when they're right. So, if you sit down at a restaurant and your table doesn't wobble, you probably don't notice. But if it does wobble and your drink falls in your lap, you probably notice straight away. So that was another really great question, and I really appreciate that being submitted. And when I look through what I want to talk about for this week, because I want to make sure every week we talk about things that we can use to get better in our organizations, that we can use to talk about and drive amazing experiences. And I want to walk away every week with us all having a common goal for the week. And this week, I'm going to ask you to own your dirt. Now, I know you're asking yourself, what the heck does that mean? It's not corporate jargon, I promise you. Owning your dirt is code for being engaged and visible and available in your business every second of every day, and being there when your associates and your guests need you, just like we talked about earlier. Making sure that you're out there walking around, touring, looking at those details we talked about, engaging with your customers and hearing things firsthand, looking at those comment cards, talking to your employees, modeling the right behaviors, like maybe picking up trash or making sure things are clean, or giving amazing service and showing that in real time what it looks like. Because when you show it and live it, it has so much more impact for your employees than it does if you just tell them this is the way you should do customer service. Get out there and show them. Show them that you are willing to do these things yourself, and you'll find they're much more willing to help you, row in the same direction. They are absolutely more willing to do that because they know that it's that important to you. So spend as much time as you can in your business this week. Take a lot of notes. Talk to your employees. And oh, by the way, ask them either what they need, what's going wrong, or how the business can be made better. Because those employees on the front line, I guarantee you, have their pulse or have their finger on the pulse of the organization. They absolutely know where the choke points are, they know where the pain points are, and they know exactly what it might take to be a little better. Not all their ideas are going to be gold, but if you mine and use them all, you are going to find some fantastic best practices there to make your organization even better. So until next week, I'm going to sign off for now. We're going to sign off on Periscope. Really enjoyed having you all here today. We are going to be back next week, same time, and I'm really looking forward to having robust conversations around customer service. So until next week, treat every guest like a cherished friend, and we will talk to you soon.